What the fuck is up, you beautiful bastards? Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about mutations. You know, those tiny little changes in our DNA that can either fuck us up or make us ridiculously awesome.
That's right.
You degenerates send us a ton of articles and research papers on this shit.
Lots of great stuff to cover.
So we're going to break it down and see what's what. Now, can you cut the crap and explain to these intellectually challenged motherfuckers what a mutation actually is?
Well, a mutation is simply a change in the sequence of DNA or RNA.
AKA the blueprints of life.
Exactly. It's like a typo in the code of your favorite video game, you know? It might make the game glitch or crash.
Or unlock some crazy secret level you never knew existed.
Yeah, exactly.
So these typos can either fuck things up or make things unexpectedly cool. How fucked up can these typos actually get?
Well, there are different types of mutations. Some are large scale, like someone took a chainsaw to your game code and rearranged entire sections.
Sounds messy.
These can involve duplications, deletions, or strange rearrangements of huge chunks of DNA.
Jeez.
It's kind of like those times when game developers release a patch that totally rebalances the game, you know?
Yes.
For better or for worse.
Right.
Then there are small-scale mutations, like someone just sneaking in and changing a single line of code.
Sneaky little bastards.
These affect just a few nucleotides, you know, those individual letters in the DNA sequence.
Right.
But they can still have a massive impact on how the game plays out.
So you're saying even tiny changes can screw things up royally or make things awesome.
Exactly.
Give us some examples of these small-scale fuck-ups.
Well, you've got insertions, where an extra nucleotide gets crammed into the sequence, kind of like adding an extra ingredient to a recipe that completely changes the flavor.
Makes sense.
Then there are deletions, where a nucleotide goes missing, like forgetting a crucial step in your baking instructions and ending up with a flat, burnt mess.
I hate when that happens.
And finally, there are substitutions, where one nucleotide gets swapped for another, like accidentally using salt instead of sugar.
Small change, potentially disastrous consequences.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got insertions, deletions, and substitutions messing with the DNA code. But what the hell causes these genetic typos in the first place? Is it just bad luck, or are we doing something to fuck ourselves up?
Sometimes these mutations just happen spontaneously.
Yeah.
You know, it's a natural error rate in DNA replication.
So even if we're living like goddamn saints, our cells can still make typos.
Basically, yeah.
That's some bullshit.
It is what it is. Then there's error-prone replication bypass. Basically, when the cell's DNA repair machinery is trying to fix some serious damage, like a double-strand break, it sometimes goes into panic mode and just tries to patch things up as quickly as possible.
A little duct tape here, a little glue there.
Pretty much. This can lead to mutations because the repair process prioritizes speed over accuracy.
So it's kind of like a mechanic trying to fix your car after a major accident. They might get the job done, but there's a good chance they'll leave a few loose screws and misaligned parts.
Yeah, you could say that.
So even when our cells are trying to fix shit, they can end up making things worse.
Sometimes.
What a bunch of incompetent assholes.
That's not always their fault. Sometimes the damage is just too severe for the normal repair mechanisms to handle.
So they call on the B team.
Exactly. A little rough around the edges, but gets the job done, even if it means introducing a few errors.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got spontaneous mutations and these error-prone repair mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that can trigger these genetic fuck-ups?
Oh, yeah, plenty of things. External factors like radiation and certain chemicals can mess with your DNA and cause mutations.
It's like a hacker injecting malicious code into your game.
Exactly. Ultraviolet radiation, for example, can cause those nasty pyrimidine dimers.
Pyrimidine what now?
Pyrimidine dimers. Basically, two adjacent bases in your DNA get fused together, screwing up the code.
Nah.
It's one of the reasons why getting too much sun can lead to skin cancer.
So basically, we're surrounded by shit that can mess with our DNA. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What about those large-scale mutations you mentioned earlier? What kind of crazy shit can those lead to?
Well, sometimes those large-scale rearrangements can actually be beneficial, believe it or not. You're kidding.
No.
I'm serious. They can create new combinations of genes that might give an organism an advantage in its environment.
Really?
It's like those crazy mods that gamers create. Sometimes they completely change the game in unexpected ways.
So you're saying that even though these large-scale mutations are like someone taking a chainsaw to your DNA, they can actually lead to something good?
Exactly. In fact, one of the most significant events in human evolution was a large-scale mutation. Remember those two chromosomes that fused together to create human chromosome 2?
Vaguely.
Well, that was a massive rearrangement that played a key role in making us who we are today.
Whoa, hold on a second. You're telling me that a single massive mutation helped shape the entire human species?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, isn't it? It shows you just how powerful these mutations can be, both for good and for bad. They're constantly shaping the diversity of life on Earth, driving evolution, and sometimes even leading to entirely new species.
Holy shit. So we're just talking bundles of mutations.
You could say that.
That's wild. All right, we're going to have to take a quick break to process all this mind-blowing shit. When we get back, we'll dive into how these mutations affect the stuff that actually makes up our bodies, the proteins. Buckle up, buttercups.
We're back, you bunch of genetic misfits, and ready to tear into this shitstorm.
We've talked about those mutations, those tiny little typos and massive code rewrites in our DNA, but now let's get down to brass tacks. We're talking the stuff that actually makes up our bodies. Those protein motherfuckers.
Right.
How do those mutations mess with those?
Proteins are basically the workers in a factory. They carry out the instructions encoded in our DNA, you know.
Doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah. But when those instructions get messed up, the workers start making mistakes.
Building faulty products.
Yeah, or even shutting down the whole damn operation.
So basically, mutations can turn our proteins into a bunch of lazy, incompetent assholes.
You could say that.
Give us the rundown on how this shit goes down.
Well, you remember those frameshift mutations we talked about?
The ones that add or delete those nucleotides and really fuck up the reading frame.
Those are the real troublemakers. They can change the entire amino acid sequence of a protein.
Completely useless.
Yeah, or even harmful.
It's like giving the factory workers a set of instructions written in a language they don't understand.
Exactly.
They're going to end up building some seriously fucked up shit.
Pretty much.
What about those substitutions? Do they always cause a major clusterfuck?
Not necessarily. Some substitutions are silent.
Silent? What the hell does that even mean?
It means they don't change the amino acid that's supposed to be added to the protein. The genetic code has some redundancy.
It's like having multiple synonyms for the same word.
Yeah, exactly. You can change a letter here or there, but the meaning stays the same. But then there are non-synonymous substitutions, which do change the amino acid.
And those are the ones that fuck shit up.
They can have a range of effects, you know, from minor tweaks to complete protein dysfunction.
Give us some examples of how those can really screw things up.
One classic example is sickle cell anemia. It's caused by a single nucleotide substitution in the gene that codes for hemoglobin.
Hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen in our blood.
Right. This one tiny change creates all these problems, you know. Misshapen red blood cells that can't carry oxygen efficiently, and then they clog up the blood vessels.
Causing pain and organ damage.
Right.
Damn. So one little fuck up in the DNA can lead to a lifetime of pain and misery.
Pretty much.
It's terrifying how much power these mutations have.
It is. Another example is SOD1-mediated ALS. It's a type of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis caused by a mutation in the gene encoding superoxide dismutase 1.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
I know, right?
So what happens?
This mutation basically leads to a toxic gain of function in the protein.
Toxic gain of function. Layman's terms, please.
It means that the protein starts doing things it's not supposed to do, you know, and eventually it causes the death of motor neurons, which leads to paralysis.
It's like one of the factory workers going rogue and sabotaging the whole production line.
Perfect analogy.
Jesus. So mutations can turn our proteins into ticking time bombs, slowly destroying our bodies from within.
It's not all doom and gloom, though.
Oh, really?
Remember, not all mutations are bad. Some can actually be beneficial.
Beneficial? You mean like those X-Men superpowers everyone wishes they had?
Not quite, but they can lead to traits that help organisms survive and reproduce better.
Okay, I'll bite. Give us some examples of these so-called beneficial mutations.
One fascinating example is the CCR532 mutation.
Jesus, these names.
I know, right?
What does it do?
It makes people resistant to HIV infection.
No shit.
It alters the CCR5 protein, which HIV uses as a doorway to enter our immune cells.
So it's basically a genetic shield against HIV.
You got it.
That's pretty damn impressive. What other genetic superpowers are hiding out there?
Another example is the sickle cell trait.
The one that causes that nasty blood disease.
Yeah, so having 2 copies of the sickle cell gene causes the disease, but having just 1 copy can actually protect against malaria.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's a classic example of how a mutation can be both beneficial and detrimental depending on the context.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
All right, what else?
Another beneficial mutation is lactase persistence.
Lactase persistence. What the hell is that?
It allows humans to digest lactose as adults.
Lactose, the sugar found in milk.
Yeah, it's the reason some people can enjoy cheese and ice cream without experiencing those gut-wrenching side effects.
You're telling me cheese is the result of a mutation. No wonder it's so goddamn delicious. But seriously, how do these beneficial mutations lead to evolution?
Well, if a mutation gives an organism an advantage, it's more likely to survive and reproduce and pass on that mutation to its offspring. Over time, these beneficial mutations can accumulate in a population. It's basically survival of the fittest genetic addition.
Makes sense. The mutations that help us thrive are the ones that get passed down, while the ones that fuck us up tend to die out?
Pretty much. It's a brutal system, but efficient.
Yeah, no kidding. So mutations are happening all the time in every cell of our bodies.
All the time.
So we're just talking bundles of mutations,
In a way, yeah.
constantly evolving and adapting to our environment.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. It is. What are scientists doing with all this knowledge about mutations?
Good question.
Are they just sitting around, stroking their beards and marveling at the wonders of DNA, or are they actually trying to do something useful with it?
Definitely not just marveling. They're using their understanding of mutations to develop new treatments for diseases and to explore the possibilities of genetic engineering.
So we might be able to engineer our own mutations, like give ourselves custom-made genetic superpowers. That's some next-level sci-fi bullshit right there.
It's not quite like that, but we are getting closer to being able to manipulate genes with incredible precision.
Okay.
Techniques like CRISPR-Cas9 allow scientists to edit DNA with crazy accuracy.
CRISPR, I've heard about that. Like a genetic scalpel, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Cutting and pasting DNA like it's a goddamn Word document.
It's a revolutionary technology that could totally transform medicine and even reshape the human species. Imagine a world where we can cure diseases like cystic fibrosis, Huntington's disease, even cancer.
Just by editing out the faulty genes.
Exactly.
Damn, that would be a game changer. No more suffering, no more dying from shitty genes. We'd all be living to 150, banging supermodels, and colonizing Mars.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're still a long way from that. Plus, there are some seriously heavy ethical implications to consider.
Yeah, we don't want to accidentally create a race of super intelligent mutants who decide to enslave humanity or some shit like that.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool. We need to use it responsibly, but the benefits could be enormous. Imagine being able to eliminate genetic diseases before a child is even born.
No more passing down those genetic time bombs. Give everyone a fair shot at a healthy life. I can get behind that. But what about those superpowers we were talking about? Any chance we'll be shooting lasers out of our eyes or teleporting anytime soon?
That's still firmly in the realm of science fiction, I'm afraid.
Damn.
But who knows what the future holds? As our understanding of genetics keeps advancing, we might find ways to enhance human capabilities beyond what we can even imagine today.
Okay, so maybe no superpowers just yet, but the potential is there. Curing diseases, improving human health. That's pretty damn exciting.
It is. And remember, this research is ongoing. Scientists are constantly making new discoveries, pushing the boundaries, and bringing us closer to a future where genetic diseases are a thing of the past.
Well, there you have it, you magnificent degenerates. That wraps up our deep dive into the wild world of mutations. We've gone from those tiny typos in our DNA to the evolution of our species, from devastating diseases to the mind-blowing potential of genetic engineering.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
Yeah.
And it's just the beginning. So next time you look in the mirror, remember, you're looking at a walking, talking collection of mutations, a product of billions of years of evolution. And who knows? Maybe someday we'll be able to hack our own DNA and unlock the full potential of our genetic heritage. Until then, stay curious, you magnificent motherfuckers.